Dave here. I'm with Clare De Graaf. Clare, do you have thoughts as to what a Christian should ask themselves on a yearly basis?
Yeah, I actually posted that on my blog, claredegraaf.com, in the month of December 2011. But essentially it's this, that I have 12 questions that I try to ask myself, and I don't have all 12 memorized, but there's things like, does my wife feel more loved and respected than she did last year? Do I think that my kids admire me? Are there any habits in my life that would cause people to question whether or not I'm a follower of Jesus? What are some of my pet sins, kind of my favorite sins that I haven't been willing to let go? So there are those kinds of things that I ask myself, and I urge the people that I mentor to ask themselves, because I think part of what it means to be a follower of Jesus is to live the examined life. So to ask yourself questions that nobody else would dare ask you. Now, I have accountability partners, and they're pretty gutsy, so they will ask me some of those kinds of things. But I think that if nobody does, it's too easy to just substitute religious activities and good things and never ask yourself the tough questions and saying, what is it that keeps me from running free this Christian life? Because we talk about the Christian walk. Well, sometimes my life looks like the Christian stroll. And so, because I've got these rocks in my backpack, these weights that are hindering me, whether it's pride, whether it's sin, whether it's just laziness. And I need to spend some time, so I try to take at least 3 times a year, a day off, to ask myself these kinds of questions. Because if I'm in the mentoring business, I ought to do better than other people. I mean, I ought to be far more serious at asking myself those kinds of questions. And sometimes I come away from those like a mountaintop experience, and I have these aha, Chronos moments. And other times it's kind of like, well, that was a day shot, So it isn't always productive, but I know that if I don't do it, if I do it 3 or 4 times a year over a 10-year period of time, there's at least 30 times where I've risked asking myself those kinds of questions. And I think as a result, it's made me a better follower of Jesus, not because I'm a better follower of Jesus, because I've let God speak to me how I wasn't.
How long have you been asking yourself those questions?
Oh, formally, probably 12 to 15 years. But I think all of us ask ourselves those questions, but we don't always like the answers, and so we ask ourselves easier questions.